Welcome to the series titled Tricky Questions and Straight Answers, Answers to Biblical Queries. Thank you very much for that question. To make you understand you better, I will present it as a PowerPoint. The question is, if God is all-knowing, He ought not have created man. See what happened to God. He created man with all advanced faculties like free will and all. Ultimately, his creation failed and his mission failed. What sort of a condition, what applied to God? If he were all-knowing or omniscient, he ought not have created man and got into this plight. The atheists and critics of the Bible argue like this. If there is a God, he should be omniscient. It's a basic requirement for being God, isn't it? One has to know everything, omniscient. One has to know everything in eternity itself, not just before. One has to know in eternity. Okay, so this is a correct premise. If God is God, he has to be omniscient, all-knowing. If God is all-knowing, he would have known in advance that man would commit sins. When man was created with free will, God would have known that he is going to do all this hanky-panky. If God knew that man would commit sin, God ought not have created man. Any intelligent person wouldn't have created him, taking so much of risk and knowing fully well that man is going to fumble everything. But in spite of that, God created man. Therefore, either God of the Bible is not all-knowing. If he were all-knowing, he wouldn't have done this. Or he is not the creator. This is just a made-up story. No, in fact, they are challenging the existence of God itself. These are your funny stories. You are contradicting in every aspect here, there. So, there is no substance to your theory. That's what they try to say. Okay, if God is all-knowing, he ought not have created man. That is the question. But we purchase many gadgets, knowing full well that the gadget may become faulty one day, isn't it? This is our experience. A motor car, for example, may develop snacks in 2 to 3 years. And you buy it by spending million rupees or 0.5 million rupees. Some cars are even very costly. Knowing full well that it is going to develop snacks. Why do you buy? Especially in poor countries like India, we use a car 15 years. So, in the span of a car, maybe 12 to 13 years, there will be regular problems to the car. Why do you buy it? Since we know that we can get it repaired. That is why. Simple answer. If you were not sure that this is not going to work after 1 year, you wouldn't spend so much of money. And especially the poor people, they cannot afford to pay so much of money. This is our experience. Likewise, God knew that he will be able to redeem them. That is why he created. Then take man to an orbit much higher than that of innocent Adam. Pre-sin Adam was nowhere near redeemed man. I usually give an illustration for this. I gave a small car to the repairer's shop. After 2 weeks, I went to collect it. He handed over me a Boeing plane. Oh, it would be wonderful, isn't it? Just not a foolish thing. A car, after repair, it became like a Boeing airplane. Just like that, the redeemed man is much superior to innocent man. So God is not a fool to have created man. Therefore, it was a wise decision to create man. A redeemed man who willfully submit to God, who willfully serve God, who willfully worship God, who willfully love God, we willfully follow God, is much superior than an innocent man even. Yes, God is not a fool. He is a wise God. If God had not created man, what would have happened? Suppose taking the advisor of the questionnaire, all-knowing God ought not have created man. His best creature wouldn't have been there. So, if you remove man from creation, how impoverished the creation would have been, isn't it? Man can write, man can read, write stories, write poetry, speak, discover, he can go to space. There is no limit for his internal faculties. What a great creation. And only man can willfully bow before God, please God, be with God, have a relationship with God. Yes, man is the utmost creation. And if God, fearing failure, and did not create man, it would have been a debacle. If he had taken your advice not to create, it would have been too bad. Then secondly, God would have become non-God as he withdrew from his plan, fearing failure. God had a plan to create man with a free will and all. If free will is not given, he will be like a buffalo. So free will is unavoidable. If free will is given, he may commit sin. This is a natural risk. So knowing this, if God, after an afterthought, decide not to create, what would happen to God? He will become non-God. You know why? He is fearing. He is scared. And now he is shelving his plan to create man. He would have become non-God. Oh, that option is not there. Then God couldn't have proved himself to be the wisest being. Now see the glory of God. Though his creature let him down, he reformed everything and he is redeeming them. And there is a group of redeemed people on the surface of this earth, knowingly worshipping him and keeping a relationship with him always. Yes, God proved that he is a wise God. He is a God who cannot fail. Okay, then what was God's solution? Redemption. God's solution was the cost of God for the redemption of man was very high, as man was entitled for eternal punishment. Therefore, God had to invest a lot. Suppose somebody's debt is, say, 1 billion. To bail him out, one has to pay a lot. If it is only 10 million, it is lesser. If it is 1 million only, it is even lesser. If it is 100,000, the cost of redemption for man was very high because his punishment was eternal hell. Why is it so? One reason is that he disobeyed Almighty, all-knowing, all-loving created God. Not mean people, the highest authority. See, the intensity of punishment for an offense depends on to whom it is done. If a child hit his father or mother, it is not very serious. If he does the same in the school to the teacher, it is very serious. After some time, the teachers may expel the child from the school even. If it is done to a very high authority, he may be put behind bar. If that be so, any sin to an eternal being like God, who is almighty, can yield automatically eternal punishment. Yes, some people ask, oh, is it fair for God to give eternal punishment for committing such a small sin? No, it was done to the highest authority. Second, this disobedience was knowingly, it was not a mistake. Eve made a lecture to Satan as to what the commandment of God. She even added something and by saying that we are not allowed to touch the fruit. We don't see God saying that. So she did it knowingly. Then human beings disobeyed in spite of getting warned. Yes, this warning was there. Even 2 deaths were warned in Genesis 2:18. We read that God told them that you shall die dying. 2 deaths were warned. One is the dying, the continuous death. That is a physical death. That is starting on the day of birth as far as a present day human being. In the case of Adam, it started on the day of his falling. That is the physical death. He started dying till he reached 930 years. Some people have died at 969, 962. So that is the dying death. So God not only warned him with a dying death, he warned with an ultimate death also in the same words. In the original, there are 2 death words. In the current English translations, it may not be there. The earlier KJV and in some KJV today, as a note, it is given. Dying, thou shalt die. That is the commandment. You will be dying and ultimately you shall die. That ultimate death is the eternal punishment or the final punishment, 2 punishments. So clearly God forewarned Adam about the eternal punishment which he was going to get. And Adam for sure would have told Eve about the whole thing. That is why she told Satan that we are not expected to touch it. So any offense committed knowingly in spite of warning is more serious. Therefore, the eternal punishment was a righteous one. So the option to save man in regard to the financial debt, somebody could pay the money if he has excess of money with him. If I have a debt of 10 million, a person having an excess of 1 billion in his bank account can very easily, it will not affect him more at all. It is excess. But in a criminal case, it is not possible. See, the average age is around 70 now. So if somebody wants to suffer on my behalf by spending 20 years in the jail, no, it is not possible. So he will lose it by 20 years. He doesn't have any excess. Therefore, in a criminal case, one has to suffer oneself. There is no other way. Nobody else can suffer on his behalf because nobody else has a longevity in excess in bank account or anywhere. No, only less than 100 years. And if 20 years or 40 years are spent in the jail, his life will be so miserable, and it is an injustice personally to him, to his person. So that is not lawful. No country. Criminal cases can be compounded like that. But in civil cases, money involved, as somebody can pay. What about the divine transgression? This is the third category of problem. No man can solve it. And it is eternal punishment. Nobody can solve it. But God decided to solve it. He should solve it because he is love. If God didn't solve it, he would have become non-God because God cannot exist without love. So, since God is love, he had to solve the problem. Then there is nobody who can solve. Therefore, God has to get it. We read about an incident in the life of Jesus where he healed the person having the legion of demons. There it is written that nobody else could bind him. When nobody else could do something, it is a responsibility of God to do. That's why Jesus went there and did that. So God had to do us. Nobody else can do it. God without a solution for any problem ceases to be God. There should be at least one solution for every problem. Otherwise, God ceases to be almighty, omniscient. Oh, he lost all ideas. He doesn't have a solution. No. It cannot happen with God. So he must have had a solution. And he had to use that solution, otherwise he would have become non-love. God's solution to sin problem was to send somebody who can bear eternal punishment on behalf of man. Bear eternal punishment on behalf of man. For that, what should have done? An all-knowing person should have suffered so that one moment of his punishment would have eternal dimension. That is the only way. Which means that all-knowing is God. God should have incarnated and come as a man and died in the place of human beings. That was the only way. Then only that person can carry the burden of sin of other people. Second, that person should rise again, resurrect again. Otherwise, what will happen? He is facing an injustice. Suppose Jesus didn't resurrect. Even if human sin is forgiven, that will not satisfy God because he is doing injustice to Jesus Christ. He died forever and he is not resurrecting. No, that is not possible. So the condition or the qualifications for the Redeemer is that he should be God himself. He should be omniscient. He should be in a position to suffer the punishment for all humanity through death. Second, his death should not abolish him. He should resurrect. If he doesn't resurrect, it is an injustice to the Redeemer. God cannot do that. And more than that, comparing it with a civil case, a person who has excess only can pay for my debts. Otherwise, it is not possible. A pauper is a person with no money at all. A pauper cannot pay for my debts. A person who has excess only can do that. What is the concept in that? This person who is having excess has no problem in spending that, let him spend. He can make it in future also. Money is makeable. Therefore, that is an excess. Just like that, only if God comes as a man and he is able to die. That is why incarnation is needed. Only as a man he can die. And only if he can resurrect, he is qualified to be a redeemer. If he cannot resurrect, it will be an injustice to him. and God will never do that. God wanted to do justice to the Redeemer also. Thirdly, God ought to have incarnated as man for this. This was the only option. Yes, for the problem sin of man, there was one option. That was for God to come as man. Jesus, the second person of God, therefore did that and died in your place and resurrected. And he is living in heaven today. By suffering the death, he suffered the pain of death. He suffered the mocking of his creation. He suffered the pain of separation from his dear Father. In every way he suffered. And his suffering has eternal dimension. As he is an omniscient person, eternal person. Any experience of an eternal person for one moment has eternal length. So he suffered enough for us. Through the substitutionary death of Jesus, both the love and justice of God are satisfied. See, a just judge of the Supreme Court cannot forgive his son from an offense. No. In all countries, a judge cannot handle the case of his son. Even if it is allowed, he cannot leave his son alone, forgiving him unilaterally. No, his justice will be compromised. At the same time, as a son, he may have to save him because of his love. For that, whatever fine is there, the father can pay. Exactly that is done. God satisfied his justice and love simultaneously on the cross of Calvary. The only person who could have done is an incarnated person. God incarnated as man. That is why Jesus incarnated and died in your and my place. Creation and redemption of man displays the richness of the wisdom of God. Ooh, what a wonderful wisdom. Without any compromise. Just like a man having excess of money paying for the debt of another. Jesus, who had infinite quantity of life in him, died for me and still remaining as a living God without any loss. Though he suffered the pain and all eternally, but he didn't perish. Just like a rich man paying and still continuing as a rich man. He paid for my sins and still living as God today by resurrection. Oh, what a rich, wise wisdom of God. How would you respond to the plan of God to save you? God did this most wonderful thing, most wise thing. Just admit that you are a sinner, that you will understand if you introspect yourself. How many false thoughts? Can you write down the thoughts that is passing through your mind during the course of one day and show to somebody else? No, it will be filthy. So much of filthiness. We are sinners. Yes, just admit that. That is the first thing. Second is that believe that Jesus died in your place to pay for your debt, to take away your punishment, to suffer in your place, to satisfy the justice of God. And thirdly, accept him as the Lord, so that there is somebody to guide you in future, so that you will not fall into the same pitfalls in future. The person who died for you is living in heaven as a victorious king. Be subject to him by accepting him as the Lord. Then he will guide you. Your life will be different. Somebody may ask, why should I accept him? Because God doesn't want to impose even redemption on you. You have to accept it because God wants to honor your free will. If God doesn't honor your free will by trusting upon something, you will become a machine or a robot. God doesn't want that. God honors you and me. He sees us as a wonderful creation, but he is persuading us to avail the way of redemption prepared by him. I request you to consider this and accept Jesus as your Savior and Lord. May his name be glorified. Thank you very much for the patient here.